Hi, everyone. Hope you are enjoying your March holidays. Time flies, it's already Wednesday. But first and foremost, I just want to say congrats on completing your first term. The first 90 days, W1 is already over, right? And I like to break down the year into 4 quarters, right? Because it's easier to set 90 days challenge, 90 days goals, instead of saying that in the end of the year, I want to get an A1 for mathematics, right? And that's a little bit too far. Okay, so what I want to look forward to is the next exam. Okay, and I always say that regardless of how well you have done for WA1 or how badly you have done for WA1, that's already over. What we want to do is to learn from the past mistakes so that we can do even better and improve from there. And that's why in today's video, I want to talk about how to make your March holidays productive, because a few things gonna happen, right? Number one is you're just gonna waste off this entire week and you're back to school next week. Or secondly, right, some of you are a little bit more hardworking, you are clearing your March holidays homework, but at the same time, you don't really know how to prepare forward and have a head start. So in today's video, this is really crucial and I think it's kind of helpful as well, because I'm gonna break down level by level, okay, what each level should be doing to prepare for your next exam in mid-April. Okay, so that was gonna kickstart. Your WA2 is gonna kickstart from mid-April all the way to early May, depending on your school. Okay, so we have around 1 month time, 1 month left towards your next examinations. Okay, so please pay attention to what I'm gonna share carefully. Okay, so let's start from the first level, Sec 1 Math. Now, back in WA1, Secondary 1 Math was focused primarily on the numbers team. You have HCF, LCM, you have your, terminologies, right? What's natural number, real numbers, prime numbers, composite numbers. You have approximation and estimation, and a little bit of orders of operation. Okay, so you can see it's all dealing with numbers, fractions, decimals, etc. But now we are looking at algebra. So some of you, back in primary school, if you find that, hey, algebra is, a little bit challenging for me, then I encourage you to kickstart a little bit earlier, right? Because algebra is the fundamental of secondary school math. Okay, so expansion, factorization, fractions, solving. So if you want to have a head start and to prepare forward, then please dedicate time to work on your algebra concept this March holidays, because it's going to help you tremendously. And I find that students who struggle in algebra, they tend to continue to struggle in Sec 2, Sec 3, Sec 4 math. Okay, so build a strong foundation for yourself so that, when you do it for WA2, the whole mentality will be a paradigm shift, right? Like, oh, math, actually quite simple one, right? And that's what we want to constantly, right, fine tune and hone it, because we don't want to flunk a math and say that, hey, I'm bad at math, I'm stuck at math, right? That's not the mentality that I want to build, is unhealthy. Okay, so what I hope that y'all can do is, number one, understand that WA1, right, all the chapters, HCF, LCM is unlikely going to be tested anymore, so you don't have to revise that. For now, work on your algebra content. Similarly for Sec 2, let's take a look at Sec 2, right? The whole WA2 is going to focus on algebra as well, but definitely, a lot more complex than Sec 1 math. Okay, so expansion now, there's like identities, right? There's applications, there's factorization. Then we have different types of factorizations. There's fractions, plus, minus, times, divide, and then there's solving. So you can see, similarly, this is the part whereby a lot of students, if your fundamentals are weak, okay, you start to fall behind. And that's where the question like, math is challenging, like, I don't take A math, right? All these negative thoughts will start to come up. Okay, so let's start early, right? And if let's say you're a little bit weaker, then do more practice. Okay, work from fundamentally the basic level equations or questions, and then work yourself right higher and higher and higher so that you can tackle all the advanced questions. Okay, so this is very, very important, because the truth is, the moment your algebra is strong, Sec 3, Sec 4, is not gonna be that challenging. Okay, so this is the most important segment. Now, moving on to Sec 3, right? In eMath, okay, there's two big chunks that you're going to be looking at. Number one is the indices, right? Chapters dealing with powers. So we have indices, we have standard form, and we have finite compound interest. At the bottom, we have geometry, back to graph again, right? Graph functions, how do we draw and sketch x cube equation, 1 over x equation, 1 over x squared equation, that's on the bottom left. And then after which, we have a speed time graph, distance time graph, acceleration time graph, right? How do we apply graph into real life context? And then on the right, we have coordinate geometry, something that you should have already seen in Sec 2, just adding a little bit more concept. Okay, so this will be the two big pillars for your Sec 3 eMath WA2 exam. So if you want to have a head start, work on your indices first, right? And then move on to standard form and finance. Okay, so that will be the priority. Now, moving on to AMath, okay, unfortunately, AMath is going to be painful, right? Because upon completing WA1, WA1 is still on, a little bit of algebra. We have your simultaneous equation, right? We have your completing a square. We have your nature of roots, b squared minus 4ac, right? Still, for some of us, it's still quite manageable. But when it comes to WA2, you can start to see logarithms, exponential, surds, polynomials, and partial fraction starts to get more abstract, and that's where we start to lose, students' confidence, right? Especially they have no idea what's going on in school, right? And then they start to see as, I should have taken A-math in the first place. Why is A-math so hard? I should drop A-math, right? Negative thoughts start to come again. Okay, so I'm gonna warn you all first. Okay, that is gonna be the phase that every student will go through, which is why take this March holidays, and number one, you can have a little bit of head start, but number two, just have a little bit of mental prep that is gonna be challenging, but you can do it. Okay, the whole process of learning is always the same, right? Whenever you are learning anything new, ask yourself, what is this about? Why am I learning this? What's the relevance? What's the applications to this in real life? Always close the gap first, then look at the concepts, the formulas, right? Break down into specific question type. Because while A-math is abstract, the truth is A-math is predictable because we know exactly what are the questions that will be tested and will come out in the exam. Okay, so that is the pros, right, of A-math. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say, right? I hope you all do well for your A-math and have some mental preparation and have a little bit of head start in some of these chapters so that you all can do well for your WA2. All right. And next, we have Sec 4 E-Math. Okay, so for Sec 4 E-Math, right, you can see over here that the priority is the finale theme, right? I call it the finale theme because these are the chapters that we learn in Sec 4. Matrices, sets, probability, statistics, and vectors. Okay, these 5 chapters you need to master before we look back at our Sec 1 to 3 content. And the reason is very simple. Okay, number one, math is the first subject that you'll be completing your syllabus, right, as early as April. Okay, which means that we all should have more than enough time to complete our full revision and to be well prepared to get the distinction for E-Math. Okay, so before we review and look back at our Sec 1 to 3 content, we must make sure that the Sec 4 fundamentals are strong because we don't want to be having a weak Sec 4, in terms of the chapters, we are weak in those areas, and then now we need to review on Sec 1 to 3 chapters, we are also weak, and then you become very confusing and you just make it very overwhelming. But what we want to do is, hey, these 5 chapters I'm done. Okay, I'm really good at it. I can do every single question in these chapters. Okay, done. Then now as I review back at Sec 1 to 3, right, it's gonna be a lot more easier. Okay, so please dedicate your time, right, to make sure that these 5 chapters, okay, you are rock solid. And that would be the best thing that you can do for yourself because then you will guarantee yourself a distinction, right, when it comes to your prelims, your O-levels at the end of it. Okay, so please double down and work on these remaining chapters, right, for your WA2, and then drill on these 5 chapters before reviewing and moving back to your algebra, your geometry, and your foundational concept. Okay, A-Math on the other hand, right, similarly, you are going to face a lot of challenge, right, because calculus is a very complex and abstract topic, right? From differentiation, we are now looking at all the applications component, tangent, normal, increasing, decreasing function, rate of change, maxima, minima, and then now we're going to apply to trigonometry, exponential, and logarithm. So you can see why this becomes even more challenging because now trigo is back, exponential is back, logarithm is back, right? And we're going to use all of this content, right, to help us in the differentiation process. So if you find yourself, struggling in Sec 3 A-Math, then you're going to continue to struggle a little bit over here. Okay, so similarly, double down on all these rules and then the applications this March holiday before moving on to integration because it's just gonna make you even more confused. Now you're gonna reverse the whole process, right? When you're doing integration, and then now you're gonna integrate trigo, exponential, and logarithm as well. Okay, so it's not gonna be easy. Okay, but this makes up 30% of the entire syllabus. So before we bring back all the Sec 3 content, clear this 30% first. Okay, then similarly, life is going to be easier when you're doing a revision. Okay, we don't want to be moving back to revision and yet having a very weak Sec 4 foundation. Then, your Sec 3 is weak, your Sec 4 is weak. Then after that, WA2 ends and then prelims is going to be 2 to 3 months time. So we don't want to be in that scenario, okay, where we are panicky and we are anxious and we are worried. Okay, so follow the game plan and the timeline that, and the preparation that I'm telling you all so that y'all will do a lot better. All right. Now moving on. Now we are clear with all the steps for individual levels and how to prepare and have a head start. Now I just want to touch a little bit for the Sec 4 students, right? Because next up in June you have your EAE and DSA coming up. And from my experience, many students will they do things very very last minute in terms of preparation. And even before preparation, right, sometimes even before the application opens in June, students are still thinking, hey, should I be applying for EAE? What course should I be applying? What are the top 3 courses or what JC should I be looking at? So instead of leaving that to June, why not spend this period of time scrolling through your phone, looking through at all the poly courses, right, asking your seniors, scrolling through Reddit, right, etc. Just understanding more about what's the world out there, what are the causes and the possibilities, right? Because ultimately it can help you in your studies. And what I found is that many of our students, right, when they find that, hey, Dylan, I want to enter Victoria JC, this is the score, and why I want to enter VJ. Hey, I want to go to SV business because of da 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 da. Right? If you are able to have that conviction and that commitment, right, then definitely the intrinsic motivation will come out. And that's where you start to see yourself academically doing better as well. Okay, so spend some time, right? This is really, really important, right? To be clear of what's next and where you want to head towards. Okay. And of course, once you are, clear with that, then you look at what are the different ways you can showcase your talent, right? Because ultimately, this is EAE and DSA. We are looking at your passion, we are looking at your skill sets and your talents. So find ways, be it taking up courses, going for competitions, creating your own mini passion projects. These are all very useful, helpful things that you can do so that eventually when it comes to June, you won't be doing it last minute. And last but not the least, okay, final thing I want to talk about is on reflecting, right? And this applies not just for all of you, right, as students, but even for myself, right, as an adult, we always want to reflect as to 90 days has passed, first 90 days, right, of the year. We don't want to just drift through the whole year and just looking back, hey, the life is just like that. But we want to make incremental changes, right? As I look back at the first 90 days, what are the things that I've done well, right? What are the things that I didn't do as well? What are the things that I want to improve, right? So that as I move on to the next 90 days, I see myself improving, I see myself growing, right? And not just in the area of academics, right? Because we can ultimately break down our whole life into different quadrants, right? We can look at our friendship, our relationship, CCAs, right? We can look at our communication skills, our leadership skills, right? Or even in terms of our mental health, in terms of our diet, in terms of our sleep, in terms of our health, right? Our emotional health, our mental health, right? So we can just look back at the past 90 days, right? And give a ranking or score as to, hey, what are certain areas that I did really, really great in? And what are some areas that I didn't do as well in? Then that's where I want to improve and work on it so that, or if I don't have the solution, then I want to seek help, ask a mentor, ask a teacher, ask, your parents or your friends, so that in the next 90 days, you see yourself growing, right? And if you look at it from a, macro perspective, if every 90 days you're improving, then, by the time you grow up in Sec 3, Sec 4, JC, you're just going to be a lot better, right? Academically, non-academically, right? And you do a lot better. Okay, so spend some time tonight, just ask yourself, right, hey, in the last 90 days, and just do some reflections and how you want to improve and work on in the next 90 days as you, close off March holidays and move on to the next term. All right, so all in all, I hope this video was helpful for all of you, right? As we dissect individual levels and then, take a look at how you can do even better, right? And I hope to be there supporting all of you, right, in this large community, sharing all the resources, the advice, so that as a community, we grow alongside with one another, we grow and become better versions of ourselves. All right, so see you and enjoy the remaining days of your March holiday. Take care.